Hello, fellow lovers of the liminal and weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I'm going to be doing a deep read of Keith Laumer's Night of Delusions. And it's not going to take us very long because the style of this story doesn't need to be outlined step by step by step. The ending's a little weird and we're going to go over that. But I'm just going to go over kind of the major plot shifts that this novel goes through. I've done a small plot introduction in the review video of it I did a couple of days ago, so if you haven't watched that, go back and look at that where I discuss the prose and the characters and all that. But for now, let's dive into this really interesting book that was recommended to me by one of you readers, and I'm so glad you recommended it because I am fitting it in as a middle piece into a collection of stories that I think it really, really fits with, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So, Night of Delusions, it's written by Keith Laumer in 1972, although it might have been earlier because he had a stroke in 70 or 71, I can't remember, and wasn't able to write for a few years. So a lot of people state that these early 70s novels by Laumer were actually written earlier, so this could be late 60s for all I know. Is an interesting book about shifting realities and the world of the subconscious. And you know, from those of you that watch the channel often know through these two books that I absolutely love this concept. This will be a very familiar concept for this channel. And this one does it in kind of its own unique fashion compared to these other two. And again, well, let me start there. No, I'm going to go over this. So, this is about a man named Florin who is hired to use some form of dream machine, sounds like Dream Master, right? In order to help a senator find his way back to sanity. What they've done is they've created kind of a fake city, and they've created a dream machine that will allow the senator to play out his delusions, and they're hoping that him doing this will bring him back to sanity. And they've hired this Florin to help him, to protect him while he does this from his own delusions, because the dream machine allows people to think things into reality. And of course the senator is going to be thinking things into reality, so he has to be careful, Florin does, and he has to protect the senator from himself. So the mission starts and things are going well, but almost instantly he loses the senator. The senator's gone, and suddenly we are dealing with just Florin fighting to figure out what is actually going on. And this is where the real fun of this book begins, because he starts slipping from fantasy to fantasy. Things keep repeating. He keeps meeting this woman in the bar over and over and over again, and she becomes kind of this anchor that he constantly returns to as he goes off on these rambling hallucinatory visions of what could be the truth. And it keeps repeating itself slightly different every time in hopes that it will hold, it will stick. And you can tell that there's something trying to be taught, or that there's something that Florin needs to learn, and these concepts keep repeating themselves. And we start to wonder, number one, with Florin, is he really Florin? Is he the senator? Is it him that's gone insane and is trying to live out his delusions? Is he actually... Oh, they start him out as a detective, a gumshoe detective, which was a really hard part for me in the book because I don't really care for that genre as much. I'm kind of tired of that genre, and I know it was huge in the 40s, 50s, even into the 60s, but I felt by the 70s that it should be done, but it wasn't. But quickly, we start to realize, wait, is he even a detective? And then at one point, he's suddenly on another planet, and then the senator's talking about alien invasion, and then he's just a drunk that they hired off the streets to be the first guinea pig in the dream machine, and they give him some money and kick him out. But he keeps realizing he's still in the machine. And from here on out, it's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't read this, here come the spoilers. And then he starts talking to this reptilian alien that he names Dis. And the reptilian alien seems to tell him more than anybody else in the dream sequences will. And finally, Dis says, you have created this dream machine. You tested yourself as the first guinea pig. And you are meddling in things that the universe will notice. And you need to destroy this machine because it has repercussions across the entire universe. And the latter end of the novel becomes a fight between him and Dis over whether or not he needs to destroy this machine. And the novel ends, and I know this is really a quick, deep reading, but the novel ends with the concept that he is, I think, the president of a federation, and an alien craft landed and a lizard-like alien got away, but they found this little artifact in the spaceship, and they came and gave this spaceship to the president, who is Florian, and when he held it, he went through everything in this book, and it leaves you there. However, even that end is just another layer, it feels like, of all these hallucinations. There's a part of this that I forgot to talk about, so it's about 2 hours after I made this video, but I wanted to make sure to get this in. So, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the ending of this novel, and that is that after Florian slowly comes to realize that whoever he is, if he's the senator or the creator of the dream machine or the president of the United States or whatever, whoever he is, he has control of the world. And by the world, I mean his subconscious world. He has control over. And the end of the book is him trying to play God. And there's an interesting connection between the beginning of the novel and the end of the novel, and in that at the beginning of the novel he's alone in his apartment and he says, why don't we add some light? And one of the guys in his apartment turns on the light. And at the end of this novel, he cracks open the universe to a place that is specifically his own and tries to be God. And he tries to create the world. And it follows the 7 days idea all the way up to the last day he rested. But it says more than that, because he's also talking about the fact that no matter how hard he tries to give himself exactly what he wants, he's never happy. And it's interesting because I was afraid that parts of this wouldn't have aged well, that it would get kind of sexist, but it honestly didn't, because he creates these women that are there for him as idealized concepts. But that's not what he wants. He realizes right away that it's awful and that he feels terrible that what he's really looking for is an actual person. And he can't really make actual people. He can only make his fantasized subconscious versions of them. And I like this concept of, if we were given exactly what we think we want, it might not make us happy in the slightest. It might not be really what we want at all. And I thought the book handled that very well. And then it ends with him as president and the alien artifact in his hand, which in my opinion... this is our other cat, Minnie. This isn't the cat that was on my lap in the other video. This was Minnie. She adopted us. We found her out in the backyard, and a coyote had caught her by the hind and bit her really bad. She had puncture wounds all over her butt. My daughter absolutely fell in love with her, so she owns us now. So that's Minnie. She wants to know what I'm doing. Yeah, so and I feel, I know the end is kind of the most confusing part, and I feel that he's still in the subconscious world, and that's the question. Is the president with the alien relic the truth? And my answer is no, but like I said earlier, you can really go either way on that and decide what you think the truth is from there. Anyway, I just had to add that in because I completely forgot to talk about the incredibly wild ending of this book. All right, back to old me. So there may or may not be a dream machine. There may or may not be an artifact. He may be the senator or the president or a drunk. Nothing is answered. And I really like that. And you could take the end of the book and say, no, that is the end. He's actually the president and he held an alien artifact. If you like closure, you can grab onto that and take that. But this... Okay. In order for me to say the next parts, I need to bring up the concept of these other books, which is what I want to talk about for the main part of this video, is how excited I am at how well these books all link together. So, and I brought this up a little bit in the other video, but I'm going to go deeply into it now. And the three books that I'm mainly interested in are The Dream Master by Roger Zelazny, Night of Delusions by Keith Laumer, and Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami. And I like the line that these create, almost decade by decade, of the concept of a dream machine and shifting realities because of it. We'll start with the Dream Master, and I'm just going to really quick, I'm sure many of you have already watched my video on this, but they create a machine that allows therapists to go into the subconscious of patients and shape their dreams in order to force cathartic understanding upon the patients. And it's about a shaper who gets stuck in his own brain because he brings in... No, he gets stuck... Wow, that's an interesting question that I've never thought of with this book. Yeah, he gets stuck in his patient's brain because she kind of takes control of the situation. But he's, stuck shaping in this world. He might end up in his own brain. Anyway, I love this concept. It deals a lot with the subconscious and how the subconscious the story of the subconscious and how it speaks to our consciousness and makes us who we are. So we take that idea, and this was published first in January of 65, probably written in 64, and we jump a little less than a decade, and we come to the book that we're talking about today, The Night of Delusions. Now, one thing about Roger Zelazny, really quick, his prose is very beautiful and flowery and very artistic. And I found that I had to read this book twice to do a deep read on it. Laumer is the exact opposite. He's reminds me of Spinrad in how direct and simple his prose are. And of course, there's a huge debate as to which is better. And I find that both of them absolutely have their pros and their cons. This isn't as good a novel to me as Roger Zelazny's Dream Master, but it is very close. And I really like the ideas that this fights with, because these could be in the same universe. It's wild, because in this one, this is about, the novel starts when he straps into the dream machine, right when the dream machine takes effect. And it's all about him lost in the dream. This book goes back and forth between reality and the dream machine. This is just being in the dream machine the whole time. And I want to read a specific passage from this book that I feel is the heart of the book, and that links these two so directly. I wonder if Laumer read The Dream Master. Like, I feel like this is almost an exact response. It could almost be considered fan fiction, and I don't want to state that it's derivative. It's not. He's not mimicking the style of Zelazny, but the idea of the dream machine is so similar that I really wonder if Laumer had read Zelazny. So let me read a quote here. Your last project as chairman was the development of a device for the study of dreams, an apparatus designed to search the subconscious for operative symbols and concretize and externalize them, making the unconscious mental activities available for study. You insisted on being the first test subject. Unfortunately, due to fatigue and stress factors, you were unequal to the experience. Your mind embraced this new avenue of escape. You slipped away into a fantasy world of your own devising. That, word for word, is like the plot of this book. Not that he invented the dream machine, but the end, slipping away into this avenue of fantasy, is word for word for this book. So I like how this links to the Dream Master, but it also links forward to Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. So the fantasy that he slipped away to in his own brain is that of Florin, an Earth detective from the 1940s, which really explains why the beginning of this, the detective stuff, is so hackneyed and so obviously caricature of those 40s detectives, because he's playing that as a fantasy at the beginning of this novel. So if you want to read this, just know that slips away very quickly. That this is not a private eye novel of him going out and solving cases. It's really a strange novel. And this is where it connects with the book Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World, where the scientist in this book tries to turn people's subconsciousnesses into films that make narrative sense and then reinsert them into their own heads. If I was running a book club, and I think I said this in the last video, I would absolutely do these three. And each of them are almost a decade apart. I think this is 72, and then this one is 82. And I love this idea, and I love that I've been able to find these two novels. I found Dream Master because Murakami said it was absolutely his major influence on Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. And then somebody recommended me this, which I feel like was also influenced by this, but I also feel this might have influenced Murakami. I have no proof that Murakami read this, and I have no proof that Laumer read this. But man, the ideas are extremely close. And of course, if we zoom out on this idea, these shifting realities, there's a couple other books that they also remind me of, and this channel is starting to get quite a collection of these kind of books. And they're what I look for kind of really the most for this channel. The one that is closest to these other three is Ursula K. Le Guin's The Lathe of Heaven. And this one has a dream machine in it, so it should fit in here completely. The reason that I don't put it in this 3 and include it as kind of a mention off to the side is because it is dealing with a person that has a power to make whatever he dreams come true, and the dream machine is just there to put him to sleep and make him dream. The therapist does have a tiny bit of control over what he dreams. That's not true. He's able to really control what he dreams. So this could fit really well in here. Yeah, this was also early 70s. These two came out really close together, the Laumer and the Lathe of Heaven. All dealing with therapists, dream machines, and shaping reality. So yeah, I am going to throw Lathe of Heaven in there. Of course, another shifting reality book. Doesn't deal with dreams at all, but death. And I don't want to give really anything away, but Ubik by Philip K. Dick is another shifting reality book that I think on the outskirts works in this group, although this one doesn't have therapists or dream machines or anything like that. And another Dick book that will fit in our shifting reality series is The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which of course is through the use of drugs. The shifting realities come through hallucinations, through drug use. Same with Ubik. Oh, that's not really true. Never mind. It's not the same with Ubik. I'll be doing a video on Ubik soon. I read it last year. So yeah, Dick had a tendency, instead of using machines for shifting realities, he used drugs to do the same thing. Yeah, so these 6 books all deal with shifting realities, and I think that that's very interesting, and I think that Keith Laumer fits very well into these, although I feel like, and this is something that I should talk about really quick, a lot of the reviews that I read about Night of Delusions state that this feels like a Philip K. Dick novel. Or a Kurt Vonnegut novel. And Vonnegut's somebody that I'm going to have to read eventually. And a lot of people say, except Dick or Vonnegut would have done a better job of it. And that I get. That makes sense. It would have been deeper and weirder. And the prose would be more epic if it was done by Dick. But the straightforward simplicity of this is unique to it. So I don't really want to compare it that way, because this is not Dick. This is Laumer. And you're right. If you're going to go for the weirdest weird you can get, you got to go to the Dick. But this is still weird. Ursula K. Le Guin's the same, although her prose is really beautiful as well, and I had to slow down and really read parts of it. It's not as straightforward as Laumer's, but it's also not as weird as Dick's. And Murakami's like somewhere in between. He has these passages that are just completely Dickian. But on the same note, a lot of this Hard-Boiled Wonderland is an easy read. It's like Laumer in that. These all fit together so very well. I know this has been convoluted. One of these days, like, I feel like I could do a literature course on these, and I think it would be a really fun course. So yeah, all of these books except for Ubik now have videos. Of course, you're watching the Laumer one now. I'll do Ubik soon, and these 6 will all have deep reads and reviews. So you can go back in the channel and look at the links if you'd like to between these other ones. So there you go. Keith Laumer, Night of Delusions. Whoever recommended this to me, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments if it's you, because I'd like to say thank you directly. All right, if you watched this to the end, thank you very much. If you like this video, please click like, and if you like this kind of content, please click subscribe, because we'll be doing a lot more of it in the future. Thank you so much for watching.